So, GST composition levy under section 10, we completed most of the aspects in the previous class, section 10. So, composition levy eligibility and conditions to app for composition scheme also be discussed, and those who are not falling under this category can still enjoy the composition scheme under the section 10 class 2A also, where their aggregate turnover should be less than or equal to 50 lakhs, but their tax rate being 3% for CGST and 3% for the SGST. The moment in their previous year aggregate turnover crosses 1.5 crores or 50 lakhs as the case may be, the composition scheme lapses. Thereafter they have to pay the tax regularly. Right. And what are the key restrictions for the composition taxpayers? They cannot collect the GST from the customer, and they are also not eligible for ITC claiming for the tax paid for the input goods. As well as any registered person getting the or purchasing the goods from this composition levy taxpayer, they are also not eligible for the ITC. Okay. For example, A being the composition levy supplier, and he gets the goods from his supplier and sells it to the customers, and 1000 rupees and GST paid on this being 100. For A composition levy customer supplier, this 100 rupees will not be available as ITC, as well as whatever the sale consideration may be, say 2000 rupees, GST will not be separately collected. That entire 2000 is assumed to be inclusive of the GST. As there is no GST for C also, ITC is not available. And if you are not eligible for the composition tax payment scheme, yet you acted wrongly, then you are supposed to pay the penalty, and it is leviable by the proper officer. Now, so briefing is given here. Scheme name being composition levy, and availability mandatory for all businesses under the same PAN, either all apt in or none. He may have 3 or 4 different GST number in 3 or 4 different locations. If he asks for the composition levy for one location, he has to mandatorily apt for the same for all the location, or he should not apt composition levy for all the locations. And separate eligibility for goods and services also available. Okay, goods is separate and services separately. And manufacturer and caterers, those having the turnover, aggregate turnover less than or equal to 1.5 crores in the preceding year is eligible for the composition scheme, provided in case of some special category states that limit 1.5 crore is restricted to only 0.75 crores. Is that okay? So the states are now categorized as special category states and general states. In case of special category states, know that 1.5 crore is restricted to only 75 lakhs. We'll see all these limits along with the registration chapter under section 22, right? Usually if your turnover crosses 20 lakhs, you have to go for registration. But in case of your business being in special category states, you need to register even if it crosses 10 lakhs. Some cases it may be more than 40 lakhs. So there are some variations depending upon the states where you are operating, right? Though it may be one tax, one nation depending upon the states. So special category states, MMNT sum, MMNT, okay, MMNT sum. These are the 8 states are considered for the special category states. In these 8 category states, 8 states, the limit being only 75 lakhs. All these things are northeast states in India. So northeast side, right? Manipur, Meghalaya, Nagaland, Tripura. Manipur, Meghalaya, Nagaland and Tripura, MMNT. And Arunachal Pradesh, Sikkim, Uttarakhand and Mizoram. Arunachal Pradesh, Sikkim, Uttarakhand and Mizoram. These are the 8 states where the limit is not 1.5 crores, only 75 lakhs. If their turnover is more than 75, they are not eligible for the composition scheme. They have to go for the regular. In case of service provider, excluding caterers, of course, caterer can enjoy the benefits similar to the goods trader as well as manufacturer. Other than the caterer service provider can enjoy the benefit of this composition levy only if their aggregate turnover is less than or equal to 50 lakhs. And billing requirements, they cannot issue the invoice, they can issue only bill of supply. GST cannot be collected. So while supplying, supplier to recipient, usually there should be a document, right? The documents being either it may be tax invoice or bill of supply. Whenever the goods moving out from supplier place to the recipient place, you need to attach a document while moving. Either it may be tax invoice or bill of supply. In the absence of these two, you may sometimes attach the bill of movement also. We'll see that later on. Okay, so these are the two predominant ones. Tax invoice is the tax document where the tax collected and all the details are available in tax invoice. Recipient of this item can enjoy the ITC benefit using this tax invoice. So tax invoice is required for claiming the ITC benefit. Okay, bill of supply will not be for claiming the ITC. As well as can you collect the GST for the goods supply? If you are issuing the tax invoice, you can collect the GST also, stating separately in your tax invoice. But in bill of supply, you cannot state it and collect it separately along with your bill. So bill of supply is a temporary evidence to supply the goods where you don't have any rights to collect the tax or you don't have any rights to claim the ITC. Your buyer also will not be eligible for claiming any ITC using the bill of supply. You have to understand the difference between tax invoice and bill of supply. We have a separate chapter for that. Tax invoice and bill of supply, debit and credit note. So these are the four aspects that are going to be covered later on. Is that okay? Hope you will be now able to understand. In case of composition levy, they cannot issue the tax invoice. They can issue only bill of supply. In case of composition levy supplier, this is available, this is not available. So input tax credit not available. Tax payment, usually composition levy taxpayer will pay the tax once in every quarter, not monthly payment. And filing of returns also annual return filing, okay, instead of monthly return. So these are the simplified benefits are enjoyable by the composition levy. Now, so you may go for the regular taxpayer like or means composition levy also, it's option only. It is your option. Okay, you have to intimate your option every year beginning. If you are the first time registrant, okay, while applying for the registration itself, you have to opt in that I may go for this composition levy. GSTR REG 1 and part B is the form. Anyhow, will study this one along with the registration chapter. REG form represents registrations form. So REG for registration, okay. ITR like return, no, here it is all about registration. So registration, GST registration form number 1, on which you will apply your documents for registration purpose, and in part B you have to state that I want composition levy, not the regular levy. So while applying itself you have to do this, and effective date that you will be eligible for composition levy is the date of registration. The moment your application registered with the income GST department, then you will be applicable or eligible for the composition levy. If you are being the existing registered person paying the tax under regular scheme, but your business is so small one, you don't want to make complicated with all these compliances for the regular taxpayer. So I want to convert myself from regular to composition levy. Will it be possible? Of course, you can change yourself from regular to composition scheme also. This will be required to be intimated before financial year starts. Before the starting of the financial year itself, you have to intimate this and file a prescribed statement within 60 days of financial year commencement. For example, financial year 1/4/2025 and 31st March 2026. Before you commence in this date, you have to intimate that I want to add from regular tax payment to composition levy scheme. Okay, you have to intimate. Apart from that, you have to give a statement within 30 days, 60 days from the commencement of the financial year, maybe April, May. Within May 30 5 2025, you have to give a statement regarding this. Is that okay? Now, this applies all business location under the same PAN. Already you know that. So, if you have for the composition levy, automatically it will be applicable for all the business locations, and effective date is from the date of beginning from the financial year. From this date, you are eligible for the composition levy. And so you are already in composition levy, can be withdrawn. Yeah, of course you can withdraw also. You can enter into composition levy or you can exit from the composition levy also. So, in case on non-compliances with conditions, intimate within 7 days and you have to go for composition levy to regular levy. So, what is that non-compliances with conditions? The conditions being the turnover limit, not only turnover limit, there may be some other conditions. So, you should not involve interstate supply, outward supply and all. So, if you are not fulfilling those conditions, automatically you become regular taxpayer. So, intimate, the moment you intimate, that day onwards you will be becoming a regular taxpayer. And voluntary withdrawal also, still you are eligible. Still you are eligible for the composition levy, but you want to shift yourself from regular to composition to levy, regular. Can you shift yourself? Yes, of course you can shift. Now just think over. In case of composition levy, you have to pay 18% GST. In case of regular taxpayer, you will be, in regular taxpayer, you have to pay 18%. In case of composition levy scheme, you pay only 6%. In case of services, Singar Academy is a service industry. If I have for the composition levy, I can pay only 6%. If I have for regular taxpayer, then I have to go for 18%. And then what model is really preferable? As a student, you will think paying 6% is much cheaper for you, so I have to recommend this one only. Is that okay? But I am being the trainer for corporates. I am always giving the trainings to the corporate people, and where I am billing to the corporate organizations, and they will give me money, and they can get the GST paid as a ITC. Okay, I charge them only 100 and another 6 rupees, 106 rupees from the customer in case of corporate person. For you, it's okay. Instead of that, if I charge 100 plus 18, 118. Okay, for the corporate people, the cost being 106. For the corporate people, in this case, 100, because this 18 rupees, they can get it back. That's an advantage. If I'm being the composition levy, you will be able to enjoy that without payment of GST. You can purchase, or the GST payment is very lesser, you will be very comfortable to pay the amount, but you lose the ITC credit. So sometimes you demand, sir, you go for the registered taxpayer alone, regular taxpayer, so that you pay full tax. I am having the options to get it back. Rather than that, unwantedly I am losing 6%. So he says, no, it is the decision of the composition levy. Can he go for regular or composition? If all the customers demanding go for regular taxpayer, I will be happy to pay entire tax. Then I myself can shift from the composition to regular. That may also be possible voluntarily. Voluntary withdrawal. And sometimes my scheme seems to be violation. Immediately tax authorities may deny my scheme, and they will intimate that your composition levy scheme is cancelled via show cause notice. SCN in short, we can call this being show cause notice. Okay, you have to give me the reasons for the doing you do. Okay, whatever the wrong thing you are doing, no, the government means the tax authorities ask for the explanation. That explanation letter is called SCN. So they will intimate show cause notice. So you are not eligible for the composition levy, but you enjoyed the composition levy wrongly for the last 3 years because of this ground. Explain me properly. Based on that letter, you can either respond properly or you can say, yes sir, I made a mistake. In both the cases, in case of your situation is correct, the authorities will allow you to continue. If the situation is wrong, they will deny and convert your composition levy into the regular taxpayer retrospectively. Since 3 years you enjoy the composition levy, which is wrong, then income tax authority is recommending you to pay the entire tax based on the regular tax for the last 3 years. There may be chances, right? So these are the 3 cases. Withdrawal of composition scheme. Now, a person availing composition scheme during the financial year crosses the turnover of 1.5 crores on 9th December. So currently he is in the composition scheme and his turnover 1.5 crore crossed on this date. So when his levy means composition levy scheme is expiring, on exactly on 9th December. Thereafter, he has to go for the regular tax payment. Now, SSA company being a trader of cell phones registered under GST in the state of Tamil Nadu. Okay. We covered few definitions in the previous class, like this one, actionable claim covered in the previous class, agent covered in the previous class. Now we move on to understand some more definitions in this class. Aggregate turnover, ATO. Section 2, clause 6. Okay. If a supplier supplies the goods, okay, in his own name, being supply only, and supplies as an agent, also be supply, and supply may be within the same state or one state to the other state. You have to add PAN based turnovers, not GST based turnover. Okay, so he does the transaction in two states, TN and Andhra Pradesh. Here is GST number and here is also GST number. He has two separate GST number. Okay, two separate GST number. But as he is being the same person, for getting this GST number, he used the same PAN number. The turnover here being 20 lakhs, here being 30 lakhs. Now for the aggregate turnover, you have to add this 20 plus 30, 50 lakhs will be taken. PAN based turnover will be taken. If you are being the agent, then also it will be included. So agent means invoice is made ready in the name of the supplier himself, then he is the agent. If he is being the broker, invoice will not be in his name, so that will not be considered. And interstate supplies, whatever it may be, interstate supply will also be considered. Taxable supplies under his own name or as an agent, any good supply will be includable as aggregate turnover. But if he is being a job worker, of course it will not be includable. For example, A does some work for A, Mr. A. A gives the raw material and support, and yes, again manufacture and sends it to A. For that, a small charge is given. So that is called job charges, and this is called job work. The transaction done because of this will not be considered as a part of a transaction of this supplier. Is that clear? So if he is being the only a job worker, that transaction will be totally removed. Clear? Now, total turnover means PAN based all India supplies will be includable. Interstate supplies, okay. So interstate supply, interstate supply, you are supplying from one state to the other state. While supplying, even if you are supplying between distinct person, will also be includable. So if the goods are transported from here to here, this is a factory in Tamil Nadu, this is a showroom in Andhra Pradesh, both are under the same control, but these two are the distinct persons because they have the two distinct number, GST number. But around 10 lakhs goods transferred from Tamil Nadu GST number to Andhra Pradesh GST number, this is also considered as transaction. Aggregate turnover will be included. And even you have to take the exempted supplies and zero rated supplies also. Exempted supply and zero rated. So exempted, zero rated, both will be considered as exempted only, but there is a slight difference. Exempted is special notice is there for not levying the tax. Zero rated means it is taxable only. Currently the tax rate is zero. Okay, sometimes later the government again revoke that 0 to 1% or 2% also, we are not sure. Hope you will be now able to understand. For aggregate turnover calculations, you have to take own sales as an agent if you are selling, and PAN based all India supplies will be includable. Interstate supplies, even if the supply is between the distinct persons, also be included. Exempted supply and zero rated supply also be included. Export supply should also be included. Okay. Even non-GST supply should also be includable. What is called non-GST? Petrol, alcoholic liquor, currently will not be a GST item. Though it is not GST item, for the turnover calculations, 150 lakhs and above calculations, this will be forming part. Okay. And what are the two things not includable? Inward supply under RCM basis. If supplier purchases something, probably immovable property rental services from any party, for that RCM basis is applicable. This will not be includable. This will not be includable. Whatever the supply may be, supply is 1000 and GST applicable on this being 100. So for the turnover, 1000 will be taken, this 100 will not be taken. Any GST component on the supply will not be includable. So what are the two things not includable? GST and composition scheme, composition SEBI, inward supplies under RCM basis. These two are not be includable. Always remember ATO, aggregate turnover, will be calculated from the 1st April of the financial year. Okay, from the 1st April of this financial year to the year end. If that value is 150 or less, then automatically he is able to enjoy the composition levy scheme. Every year from the first date to the year end, we have to calculate separately whether the aggregate turnover is less than or equal to 150 lakhs. And ATO excludes if there is any deposits, loans or advances. Any deposits are given or loans and advances given. Insofar as the consideration is represented by way of interest or discount, in case of interest and discount. Okay. So any deposits given, okay, to safeguard the business, it's not going to be adjustable for the consideration. Already we have studied that in consideration chapter, right? So advance is given, while final billing, that advance is subtracted, balance is supposed to be payable, then that deposit will be considered as part of consideration. But advance is refundable in case of cool drinks. I gave the example. Cool drinks may be 20, along with the bottle you purchase for 50, you pay 50 and got it, the cool drinks with the bottle. And after the consumption, you return the cool drinks bottle, where you will get the 30 rupees back. Then what is the consideration? Only 20. 50 minus refundable deposit, 30. So balance 20 rupees is the consideration. So if the deposit or any loans and advances just being interest or discount, insofar as considerations represented by way of interest or discount will not be considered for aggregate turnover here. Okay. And partner to firm or huffer to co-person is karta. If the transaction is between partner to firm or firm to partner, vice versa, or huffer to co-personers or karta, vice versa, will not be considered as aggregate turnover. So you have to understand what are all falling under aggregate turnover. Let me list it again. All the taxable supply, exempted supply, export supply. Okay. Even non-GST supply will also be includable. Under taxable supply, under own banner or as an agent fee supply will be taken, but not as a job worker, not as a job worker. Okay. And you have to sum up all the turnover applicable for the same PAN number based on all India supplies format. And interstate supply, including interstate supplies between distinct person, will also be includable. Okay. Now, what should not be includable? Inward supplies under RCM basis not includable, and GST or any compensation cess on this will not be includable. So, aggregate turnover will be this one. Okay. Now, what is called business? Very often we come across business purpose and furtherance of business and all. What is called business? So under section 2 clause 27, the business is defined. So we have been given almost 7 items here. One is the normal understanding of yours about business will be the first aspect. What is that? Any trade, commerce, manufacture, profession, vocation, adventure, wager. Okay, any trade, commerce, manufacture, profession, vocation, adventure, wager, everything will be called as business only. Okay, even some extra point to be noted, even if there is no monetary benefit, also be business, or any activity transaction in connection with or incidental or ancillary to the main will be considered as business only. Okay, for example, selling the car will be the trading activity. Along with the selling that car, a primary repair service also be available in that same car shop. This will be the ancillary. Their intention is not to make any profit by doing the ancillary services, but very, very important for primary sales. So that service will also be forming part of the business, right? And irrespective of volume, frequency, continuity or regularity. Okay, I do only once, sir, in a lifetime. Will it be falling under business? Yes, that is also falling in the business. It is not volume matters, it's not frequency matters, or continuity is not matter. So still, if you are involving any trade, commerce, that you know what is called trade. Buying and selling is trade, and commerce is nothing but including buying and selling. Any other related activities like financing, transporting and all will also come under commerce. Trade aids, you might have studied. Trade and trade aids. And trade aids is nothing but there may be hindrances in your trade, right? Like finance hindrances rectified, are resolved with the help of banking sector, and knowledge hindrances through advertisement and all, and place hindrance will be rectified with the transportation, and time hindrances warehouse. So if you are involving in all these activities now, also called as commerce. Manufacture, converting one state to the another state is the manufacture. Profession, you have the education on that, and with the skill and experience you are applying your studied knowledge for your practice is called professions like CA, CMA, and doctors, engineers all fall under this case. And vocation is nothing but the skill by practicing, like masons work, electricians work. Okay, whether there's a formal skill or not, by doing that regularly, they can acquire those skills, is called vocations. And wages are all about betting and gambling, like also be considered as your business. So for the first case, okay, Mr. S, a famous actor, paints some paintings and sells them. Okay, now paints and sells, no, will it be coming under business or not? The consideration is donated for a charity. Now the question is it that painting and selling will be considered as business or not? Already I told you, no, frequency, volume, continuity is not a matter. He does once and plans to sell. There's a profit motive. Whether the profit is taken by him or diverts, that doesn't matter. There is a profit motive. Automatically it is considered as business only. Qualifies as supply. Even it is one-time occurrence. Hope you will be now able to understand the example. This example is making you to clear with these points. Next one being acquisition of goods and capital assets and services. Acquisition of goods, capital assets and services. For the commencement of closure of the business, also business. If you want to start a stationery mart, I need to purchase a stationery, and I need to purchase a shelf, rack, bureau and all. I need to get some skill, talent for installing the accounting software. So purchasing the raw materials for selling will be goods, and some machines, weighing machines, billing machines, and bureau and shelf, all we purchase, no, capital goods. And the knowledge, any experts having the tally expertise to draft the billing and other system, for him if I am paying that input services. All the three will be related to the business. Because I commence the business, and these things directly not saleable, but these things are required for the running the business. Once I close the business, I can discard all these things. While closing, I am discarding all these things, also be business. So it is not only buying the goods for sale. It's related to your business setup, whatever the things you do, also be part of business. First one is buying and selling. Second one is while commencement as well as closure, whatever the things you purchase and sell will also be goods. And see, the point is all about club, association, society. Okay, where if you are being the member for a subscription fees, for subscription or any other consideration, if you are getting any facilities and benefits, a recreation club, you become the member in that recreation club, you are allowed to play tennis or whatever the games set there. You can go and enjoy yourself in your weekends to celebrate. Okay, whatever it may be for a nominal fees or membership. Also business. If you say that the club has no intention to make profit, doesn't matter. So intention of profitability is not a matter here. So a resident welfare association, RWA and members provides services of depositing the electricity bill of the resident. So this RWA supports for the EB bill payment. Okay, and in lieu of some nominal charges. For that, the members are paying a small fee. This will also be considered as business under section 2 class 17. Clear? Under section 2 class 17. Now, in case of circus, cinema halls and parks, we collect the fees or collect the money for giving the tickets for the admission purpose. That admission purpose, if I collect anything by way of ticket fare, will also be business. Is that okay? And services supplied by a person as a holder of an office which has been accepted by him in the course or further of his trade or profession or vocation, okay, is called business. Okay, services supplied by a person. Okay, if I am being the doctor, I am giving small free consultancy to my family members. Okay, now what happens here? This is not business. But if I am being the doctor and appointed as a doctor in Apollo Hospital, and I have a small room cabin given to me for treating the patients, okay, doctor is sitting here. Now my posting is being the doctor of Apollo Hospital. Under that capacity, if I am doing any services, automatically this will be business. Okay, the same person does out of his own interest personally to somebody else will not be so. But under some capacity, if it does any activity related to the trade, and automatically it comes under business. Is that clear? E point. Services by race club like a totalizator or licensed bookmaker and activities of licensed bookmaker. So all these things. So earlier I told you, totalizator. Totalizator is nothing but in the race club. Okay. In the race club, the score gained by each and every horse, winning of money, prize money, all these things are again displayed like IPL games or sports, cricket, scoreboard. So the scoreboard is for marking the balls played and the wickets lost and probably score. All these things are available there now for each and every player. That is also totalizator. Similar to that, in the race club, for any horse, right? So if they go for gambling, especially horse races, they will go for betting. They will pay the money for betting, and the horses are now in the competition, and the money won by each and every bettor will be recorded in the sheet and display also. That is called totalizator. Based on that, only what? The money, final prize money will be distributed. They are called a totalizator. Totalizator is engaged for facilitating the wagering for a commission. Wagering is what? A betting, gambling like. So wager. Okay, wager is nothing but betting, gambling like. So if you are entering into the betting and gambling like somebody else, and Mr. X will helping you to total what's the revenue you get and what's the fees you have to pay, all these things, that person is called totalizator. He gets a small commission. That totalizator service will be considered as business only. And finally, those activities or transactions not falling under the above category undertaken by the central government and state government or local authority as public authority, also business. Okay, as public authority. Okay, so sweeping the roads and cleaning sewerages and street lights and all these things. No, the local authority provides all these services as a head of the public authority. Is it a business? Of course business, but specifically not taxable. It is exempted later on. Now the question is it exempt, taxable? I mean, it's a business or not? Once it is confirmed business, is it taxable or not? We'll study later on. So the last one is usually exempted. Already we have studied in negative list. Okay, as a public authority, any service rendered by the central government or state government is predominantly exempted. Right? Hope you'll be now able to understand what is called business here. You know what is called capital goods. Okay, any asset will be capital goods. Casual taxable person also I explained. A person who occasionally undertakes the transaction, usually for a short period. Okay. So already we studied what? Composite supply. What is called composite supply? Mixed supply and composite supply we have studied, where in composite supply, principal supply as well as subsidiary allied supply is there. For example, goods are packed, transported with insurance. Actually, my intention is to purchase goods to get it delivered safely. It is packed neatly and transported, and in order to prevent from the risk, insurance also be done. So, goods is a primary principal product, and other things are ancillary, right? And consideration also we have completed in the previous class. Okay. E-com operator we have studied. Family studied. Goods also we completed. Now, what is called India? So, India is nothing but see. Just think over India. Now, here is Ganges. This is called tidal river. Tidal river. Okay. All the land mass you know will be called as India. Land mass. Land area is India. Apart from that, this will be called Gulf. This will be called Gulf. Okay. This will be called Bay. Bay of Bengal and Gulf of Kutch. So the Gulf and Bay also be considered as what? India. Tidal river also be India. Not only that, from landmass to 12 nautical miles will be called as territorial water. From there, another 12 nautical miles will be considered as contiguous zone of India. Where up to territorial water you know will be considered as India. 12 nautical miles. This is 12 nautical miles. This is 12 nautical miles. 12 nautical miles. 1 nautical miles roughly around 1.2 miles. Otherwise 1.9 or 1.8 kilometers. Almost 2 kilometers closer. Okay. In case of sea. From Indian landmass to up to 200 nautical miles. Up to 200 nautical miles. This will be called as exclusive economic zone. Exclusive economic zone. In this exclusive economic zone, any place India can exploit for the India's requirement. Probably from Indian landmass to up to 200 nautical miles, they have found out around exactly 180th nautical miles of petrol well. Can India drill and excavate the petrol here? Yes, of course they can extract the crude oil from here, no problem. In this case, this will be called as India. It is not up to EEZ. In EEZ, some specified areas used for the economical benefit of India will be considered as India. What is called India? Already told you know. And then some specific areas in EEZ will be India. And in India, some areas may be named as EOU, Export Oriented Unit. For the taxation purpose, this is not considered as India. Means automatically GST will not be applicable. Now you will be able to understand what is called taxable territory. Wherever the GST is applicable will be called as taxable territory. What happens if anybody doing trade here? Also tax will be applicable, so taxable territory. What about here? No. Okay, what about here? No. What about here? Yes. What about here? Yes. What about here? No. Okay. So, the territory of India as per Article 1 of Constitution, territorial water, seabed, subsoil, beneath such water. So, all these things will be. Continental shelf and exclusive economic zone up to this. Other maritime zones under territorial waters, continental shelf, exclusive economic zone and other maritime zones act. So, all these things you will study later on. Airspace about its territory and territorial waters. Not only here. Okay, not only the bottom. In airspace also we have the same limit. That's why when there is a war between two countries, automatically they will give the warning that the other country's flight should not fly over our airspace. So it's not a road. It's what about the airspace also will be considered as India. Hope you'll be now able to understand this one. So mixed supply also we completed. Okay. You have seen the illustration also. We have studied money in the earlier class. Non-resident taxable person, already explained, CTEP, casual taxable person as well as non-resident taxable person. Casual taxable person is the person who is doing the business for a very short period, probably 3 months to 6 months. If the same person from non-resident, from foreign country, he wants to do the business only for 3 or 6 months, can he do so? Yes, of course. He has a special provision for that, which is falling under non-resident taxable person. So it is similar to CTP. Okay. What is called non-taxable supply? Non-taxable supply. A supply of goods or services both which is not leviable to tax under this act, CGST or IGST. What are the supply not falling under this act? Alcoholic liquor for human consumption as well as currently petroleum products. Is that okay? Non-taxable territory means the territory outside the taxable territory. Okay. So what is called outward supply? The supply we purchase now, that is called inward supply. We sell, that is called outward supply. Okay. By way of sales, barter, transfer, a license and all these things. Okay. Now, in income tax also you studied who is called person. Who is called person. Similarly, in GST also we have the term person defined properly. What are the things you studied in your income tax will be available here plus something extra. What is that? Individual, Hindu and divided family, firm, partnership firm, limited liability, AOP BY, corporations established by law and foreign body corporate. Apart from that, cooperative society, local authority, central or state government, society, trust, AJP, all these things also be falling under persons here. Is that clear? Of course, requires no explanation. Already we studied in income tax majority cases, right? Now, what is called society? Society is defined under the Societies Registration Act. Foreign body corporate is nothing but the company established under Companies Act of foreign country, not Indian Companies Act. Okay, a body corporate established outside India under foreign law, not under Companies Act. So, corporation established by law means established under Companies Act 2013 or any central state provincial act. Okay, hope you will be now able to understand all this part. So, we have already studied what is called principal supply. Okay. Reverse charge also we have completed. Services also we have defined already. Supplier is the person who supplies. Okay, a person who supplies goods or services or both includes an agent on behalf of the supplier. Okay, including an actionable claim also. Right. Now, union territory means the territory of this. How many are there? 6. These are the union territory. How many union territories are there? How many union territories? So many doubts. Union territory of India. So how many? 8? 8 union territories, right? Clear? So you have been given 8 union territory. Okay. So how many union territories are there? 8. So Andaman, Nicobar and Lakshadweep Dadra, Nagar Haveli and Daman and Diu, Ladakh and Chandigarh. Okay, other territory. So we have been given Delhi, Jammu and Kashmir and Pondicherry. Clear? And here, Delhi and Pondicherry, we have the legislation. We have the legislation. Like state government, they have legislation, their own chief minister, and they have their own administration and all legislation. So anyhow, we'll just understand these concepts later on. Okay, you can understand this later on. Later on, I will talk about the union territory with the legislature, without legislature. So you have to understand that carefully later on. Okay. So let's see. Under composition levy for goods, being a trader of cell phones registered under GST in the same state of Tamil Nadu and furnished the following details relating to the preceding financial year. Intra-state supply of taxable goods, yes, you have to include this. Intra-state supply of exempted goods, yes, exempted, export, non-taxable, everything will be includable. Intra-state supply of taxable services, goods, services, all these things will be includable. Intra-state supply of exempted should also be includable. 3. Deposits, loan advances being interest component will not be includable. So then you add up this 138. As the turnover is less than or equivalent to 150 lakhs in the previous year, preceding to the previous year, current financial year he is eligible for the composition levy scheme. Eligible for composition levy. And then we have been given the goods also. If there is a service, we have to check one more condition. What's that? Okay, overall transaction value being 138 lakhs. Here, goods being, service being, how much is the service? 5 plus 3, 8 lakhs. There's a condition. What is that? Whichever is higher of 10% of turnover, 13.8 lakhs, another one being limit 5 lakhs. So up to 13.8 lakhs service component could be there. Here the service is only 8 lakhs. So this condition also satisfied. 150 and this one. These two conditions should be satisfied. Of course, these two conditions satisfied. So he is eligible for composition levy in this year. Now, Mrs. X Limited, being manufacturer of laptop, has 5 factories in Chennai, Salem, Coimbatore and Madurai. So all this turnover includes GST 18%. For the aggregate turnover calculation, you have to remove the GST. Chennai, Salem, Coimbatore, Madurai, Chennai 2. Overall transaction value being 151.51. If the transaction value is 100, GST 18 is added, so the total value being 118. Here 151.51 will be the overall collection. We have to consider only the value excluding the GST. Do the cross multiplication to get the transaction value excluding the GST. Now aggregate turnover is equal to, come on, tell me this value, 151.51 into 100 divided by 118. 128.40. Isn't it? Use the calculators. As this one is less than or equal to 150 lakhs, composition levy scheme is applicable. Clear? Now, taxpayer A is a manufacturer who has apted for composition levy for goods having one unit A1 in UP, A1 in UP, unit 2 A2 in Madhya Pradesh. Total turnover of the two units in the last financial year, 85 lakhs, 30 lakhs, overall 115 lakhs. In the last financial year is the turnover is less than or equal to 150 lakhs, so he is eligible for composition levy in this year, which is less than or equal to 150 lakhs. So composition levy scheme is available in the current financial year. Turnover of unit A1 and A2 in the second quarter of the financial year was 5 lakhs and 10 lakhs respectively. Compute the amount payable under composition levy by taxpayer A. What is the amount payable? For 15 lakhs, being the manufacturer, 0.5% for CGST, another 0.5% for SGST or UTGST, 1%. So 5,000 and 10,000, overall value payable being 15,000. This one is to cross check whether he is eligible for composition levy. Based on the composition levy, we have found out the tax payable in this current year. Shall we move on to the next one? Composition levy for services. In case of services, composition levy will be 3 plus 3%. Being a supplier of taxable and exempted services registered under GST law in the state of Maharashtra, furnish the following information. Intra-state supply of taxable output services, intra-state supply of exempted supplies, and interest earned on deposits, loans and advances will not be includable. So you add up this one, 50 lakhs. So the limit is only 50 lakhs. Okay. So as this is only exactly 50 lakhs or less is eligible for this. Is X and Co eligible to AMP composition scheme? Yes, sir. 50 lakhs exactly. Even 1 rupee more than this will become ineligible. Is so, find the CGST and SGST liability for the first quarter. What is the CGST and SGST in the first quarter? 6%. 3 plus 3. 6% will be payable. And for what? This is exempted, so it will not be taxable. It is not going to be considered. Only for this 2 lakhs you have to calculate 6%. 3% being okay, once again. You calculate for this entire 10 lakhs at the rate of 3%, 30,000 rupees for CGST, another 30,000 for SGST. One second. I request you to change this rather than exempted supply. Okay. This is intrastate supply of taxable output services. State A, this may be named as state B. Okay, make the changes. Rather than exempted, it is taxable supply only for state A and state B. That's how you can change this illustration. Now, next question. Mrs. Y Limited, being a trader of laptops, has 2 units in Chennai and Mumbai. Previous year turnover being 52 plus 12, then total value being 64 lakhs. You are required to answer, is Mrs. Y Limited eligible for composition scheme in the current year? Yes, because it's less than 150 lakhs. If so, Mrs. Y Limited can have composition scheme for Chennai location and normal scheme for Mumbai. Is it so? No, not possible. Need to give a separate intimations for applying composition scheme in each state? No, not required. Not required. If you intimate one in one place, and automatically it is considered as intimated to the other place also. You no need to intimate separately. You can remove this illustration, not required. We'll go for the next illustration. Yes. M. Sitaram is running a consulting firm and also ready-made garments. So, consulting firm and ready-made garments. This is trading goods, this is services. Registered in the same PAN. Turnover of the showroom is 60 lakhs and receipt of consultancy firm is 12 lakhs. In the preceding financial year, is Mr. Sitaram eligible for composition scheme? So, supply of goods and services. Supply of goods being 60, supply of service being 12, overall 72. The first condition is okay. And services should be less than or equivalent to what? Whichever is higher of A, 10% of total turnover 7.2 lakhs and B, limit which is 5 lakhs. So 7.2 lakhs. But service value is 12 lakhs. So naturally what happens? No. So is Mr. Sitaram eligible for composition scheme? Definitely not so. Whether it is possible for Mr. Sitaram to have for composition only for showroom? No, that is also not possible. Rework if Mr. Sitaram is running restaurant as well as ready-made garments, then it is applicable. Restaurant, the catering service is a part of this one. In this case, he is eligible for composition scheme. If the turnover of garment showroom is 75 lakhs in the preceding financial year and there is no consulting firm, whether he is eligible for composition scheme? Yes. If it is only being the garment showroom without consultancy, up to 150 lakhs he has the limit, so he can still enjoy. Okay, so first case not possible, second case not possible, third case restaurant will be considered as eligible under the first section itself. Okay, so where 150 lakhs limit will be there. When the service component along with other than this catering service is there, then the problem arises. Clear? Next one. Mr. Rahim is a dealer who is selling taxable goods, exempted goods, non-taxable goods, that is liquor. His turnover in the preceding financial year being 35 lakhs, 10 lakhs and 15 lakhs goods, 15 lakhs goods which are leviable to GST. So this is GST leviable, this is exempted, another one is non-taxable. Whether Mr. Rahim eligible for composition scheme? So the aggregate turnover is how much? 35, 45, 55, 60 lakhs. Okay. But what is the condition for composition levy? Conditions. engaged in taxable supply. Okay, no interstate supply, no supply through e-com operator, not a manufacturer of ice cream, not a casual taxable person, all registered business under the same PAN must act. Okay, clear? So must engage in which one? Taxable supply. In this case being, non-taxable goods also be there. What is called non-taxable goods? Alcohol, liquor for human consumption. We never bother about the exempted goods, but we bother about the non-taxable goods. If he involves in non-taxable goods, automatically he loses this. Okay. As engaging in non-taxable goods, he is not able to claim the composition levy scheme benefit. Okay, because of this reason. Mr. CMA Ram is practicing cost accountant in Patna. He commenced a profession on 1st April and his annual turnover being 70 lakhs in the financial year. Find the tax liability under composition scheme if any, normal tax being 9%. So practicing cost accountant, then it's a service industry. Okay, commenced profession service industry. Very first year means 0 to 20 lakhs tax is not required to be payable. From 20 lakhs to 50 lakhs, he has the chance to opt for the composition levy scheme up to 50 lakhs. So here 3 plus 3 will be payable. Beyond 50 lakhs, automatically the ceiling is crossed. So he now loses the composition levy. Thereafter he comes under normal tax payment. Normal tax payment being 9 plus 9. If it is the existing company, existing entity, previous year is his turnover is less than 50 lakhs means he can enjoy in this year. But this is a newly started company. Newly started company requires no registration up to 20 lakhs. So up to 20 lakhs he has not registered. Beyond 20 lakhs he has a chance to go for composition levy up to 50. So 20 to 50 can go for the composition levy. The moment the limit is crossed, 50 lakhs is crossed, he is not eligible for the composition levy, can go for the regular taxpayer. Okay. Sultan and Sons, a partnership firm in Nagpur, Maharashtra, is a wholesaler of taxable product P. So P being the taxable product, Q being exempt product by way of notification. In the state of Maharashtra, its aggregate turnover in the financial year being 130 lakhs. So the total being 130 lakhs. The firm wishes to add the composition scheme. However, its accountant of the view that person engaged in the supplying of exempted goods is not eligible. See, non-taxable goods not eligible, but exempted goods is eligible. So non-taxable goods means it is not currently available, not notified anywhere. So that is called non-taxable goods. Exempted goods means still taxable. Currently by notification this goods is exempted. So automatically what happens is 130 lakhs is less than or equal to 150 lakhs. So he is eligible for composition levy. Okay. You have to understand the difference between non-taxable goods, that is or liquor. But exempted goods will not be considered as non-taxable goods. Exempted goods is not taxable. Exempted goods also taxable. Under GST, the rate is 0 or exempted. Understand? Clear? Determine whether the suppliers in the following cases are eligible for composition levy provided their turnover preceding year does not exceed 1.5 crores. Preceding years within the limit. This year, Mohan Enterprises is engaged in trading of pan masala. Okay. Huh? And registered in the same state. Okay. Eligible or not? Yes, eligible. So very careful. Be careful. The term is slightly confusing. Here you see. Manufacturers accept specified goods. If you are being the manufacturer of specified goods, you will not be eligible. What is that specified goods? Ice cream, pan masala, tobacco, aerated water. Can I do the trading activities? Yes, trading is accepted, but manufacturer may not be accepted. Understand? If you are being the specified goods manufacturer, you will not be eligible. If you are being the trader of specified goods, eligible. Okay, clear? Very interesting question, right? Small points. So in this case, yes, because he is being the trader, not manufacturer. Sugam manufacturer has registered office in Punjab and Haryana and supplies goods in neighboring states. If you are involving in interstate trade, if you are selling to the other state, automatically you will not be eligible for composition levy. Right. Mr. Ajay has registered repair center service where electronic goods are repaired and serviced. His repair center is located in Rajasthan and is not engaged in making any interstate supply of services. His aggregate turnover in the preceding year is 45 lakhs. So automatically section 10 class 2A, he is eligible for composition levy scheme in the current year because the limit is 50 lakhs. With reference to the provision of CGST Act, examine Mr. Ajay can opt for the composition scheme under section 10 class 1 and 2. 1 and 2 should be available only for the manufacturer, right? In the current financial year, or otherwise he is eligible to avail benefit of composition scheme under this one. So which section is eligible? 10 class 2A only, first, second not, third only. Third will be section 2A. Considering the options of payment of tax available to Mr. Ajay, compute the amount of tax payable by him, assuming that his aggregate turnover for the financial year be 35 lakhs. So how much is eligible? 6% will be leviable. Okay, 6% will be leviable. Now, will your answer be different if Mr. Ajay procures few items required for providing repair services from neighboring state? If he purchases it from other state, will he be eligible for the composition levy? Yes, still eligible. Okay, he cannot sell the other state, but from the other state he can procure. Okay, from the other state he can procure. Now, let's go for the next illustration. Mrs. Sai Trading Company. Now we are dealing with the trading company. An eligible registered dealer, goods making intra-state supplies within the state of Andhra Pradesh has reported an aggregate turnover of 118 lakhs in the preceding financial year. In the preceding financial year, his turnover is less than 150 lakhs as is being the trader. This year he is eligible for composition levy. Determine whether Sai Trading Company will be eligible? Yes. Will your answer be different if in the above scenario, Mrs. Sai Trading Company is making intra-state supply within the state of Jammu and Kashmir? Okay. Jammu and Kashmir. Okay. So what we have studied? NT, SM. In these 8 states, 75 lakhs is the limit. Okay, Jammu and Kashmir is not falling under this case, so still 150 lakhs is applicable. Okay, Meghalaya, Manipur, Nagaland, Tripura, Arunachal Pradesh, Sikkim, Uttarakhand, and what's that last one? Mizoram. So in these 8 states, the limit is only 75 lakhs. But in this case, it's Jammu and Kashmir. Jammu and Kashmir, they are eligible for higher benefit. 150 lakhs is applicable for them. Let's see time of supply. Time of supply is nothing but the point in time it is going to be taxable. At what point in time it is going to be taxable, is determined based on the time of supply. Okay. So section 12 deals with the time of supply for the goods. Section 13 deals with the time of supply of services. So we have to cover 2 sections, 12 and 13. Both are almost same, except the second point may be different. Okay, small differences there, rest will be the same. Okay, time of supply. Okay, now section 12 class 1 time of supply is nothing but is the time to calculate the liability to pay tax. That's all. This is same for the goods as well as services. In case of forward charge, what is the time of supply? In case of reverse charge, what is the time of supply? In case of voucher, what is the time of supply? If you are not able to determine time of supply, then what could be the time of supply? Okay. So time of supply cannot be determinable under above method. So these are the three methods are given for deciding time of supply. If I am not able to find out the time of supply using one of the three methods we discussed earlier, then what could be the time of supply? We will see that. In case of delayed payment, I sold the goods for 1 lakh, stating that you have to pay the money within 3 months. But the buyer delayed the payment by another 1 extra month. Rather than paying in 3 months, he paid in 4th month. For the 1 extra month, I charged another 5,000 rupees extra. Now, what is the consideration? The consideration being not 1 lakh 5,000 rupees. The entire amount I recovered. But I already collected GST on 1 lakh. While raising the invoice, I thought he could pay within the stipulated date. Right. So, 1 lakh, I raised the invoice for 1 lakh and tax also collected for 1 lakh. Now, because of the delay in payment, I collect another 5,000 rupees. Now, what is the time of supply for that additional money? So, time of supply in case of interest, late fee, penalty for delayed payment. Okay. So, these are the 6 points are there for goods as well as for supply services. Okay. Clear? Now, time of supply. Time of supply. Section 12 class 1 is all about why do we want to study? Liability to pay tax is determined only based on time of supply. That's what about the importance of studying this time of supply. Okay. Now, when to issue the invoice? When to issue the invoice? So you have to understand the tax invoice also. Tax invoice. Okay. I'll use a small briefing here. Okay. Now, section 31 says, we'll deal this one in detail later on. Okay. Deals with the issue of invoice. In case of issue of invoice, for supply of goods, for supply of services, what is the time of supply? What is the time of supply? Okay. In case of goods, movement of goods. Movement of goods. Is it involving movement of goods or not? Yes, sir. Movements is there. Then removal date. Removal date. No, sir. It involves no movements of goods. Other case. Delivery date. Delivery date. This is what about the date for issuing the invoice. Date for issuing the invoice. What is called movement of goods? What is called movement of goods? I am having the shop. You visit to our shop and order the goods, and also I build. Now I pack this item and give to you. The moment the goods is given to you are moving out of my factory, are moving out of my control, then this is called time of invoice. Time of invoice. When to issue invoice? The time of movement of goods. What about the other cases? In some cases, in showroom they will have only display pieces. If you go for a large furniture, bureau, AC and all, they will have the display piece only. Sir, I want this AC, sir. Can I take? No, sir. I will book the order. This display piece I will send from our factory. So the movement doesn't involve at the time of selling. When the movement happens, the AC will be delivered to your place, installed, on your satisfaction only, final sale is confirmed. This is nothing but delivery or available in the hands of the customer. So in case of goods, we have the two scenarios: movement from our showroom. Another one is it is available in the hands of the customer the other way, other than movement. It gets assembled at the site of the customer. So you have to issue the invoice before this date. Okay, before this date. On or before. On or before. So you have to issue the invoice on or before this date. Now, in case of service, okay, before or 30 days from the date of supply. From the date of supply. You understand? So small difference is there between the goods and services with respect to the issue of invoice. In case of goods, very simple. If you go and purchase any goods in the shop, while making the payment itself, you will get the bill. Suppose if you order, it should be getting installed at your own home. Then installation service engineer will come and install and ask you to check whether it's working finely or not. Then he gets a sign from you by the time he gives the invoice. Okay. So if you are getting it from the showroom at the time of removal, in case if it is going to be installed in your own home, at the time it is available in the hands of the recipient. By the time or beforehand, you have to issue the invoice, no problem. But in the case of service, before the provision of supply of service or after the completion of provision of supply of service, from that date another 30 days is also there. Within the 30 days you can issue the invoice. Okay. For example, if you want to book a hall for any reception or function, okay, then hall service, rental of hall service, service only, no. So if the date of providing service being 15th December 2025, when you can issue the invoice? Before the date, after or on or after this date up to 30 days. 14/1/2026. Okay. Clear? Within this date you can means issue the invoice. This is the only difference. What is this? This difference. Because of this reason, you have to study section 13 in detail. So, if you are studying these two, both are same. First point same, third point same, fourth point same, all these things are same. Here, it is not same. Here, only one difference. Here, you have to understand in detail. So, once you master with the goods and you are able to understand the time of supply of service also without any problem, you have to put our attention only with respect to only two sections only. So, what is the time of supply of goods, sir, in case of forward charge? We will start with the forward charge. Whichever is earlier of. One is, okay, invoice date or last date for the invoice. Invoice date or due date for the invoice. Okay, if the invoice not issued, sir, the due date can be taken. Both are same, no. Second being date of payment, receipt of payment. Okay, date of payment receipt. Between these two, whichever is earlier will be taken. Then when it is all about date of payment of receipts, again, here you have two options. What is that? Date recorded in your books. Okay, when you record in your books, or when it is shown in bank account, credit in bank account. Otherwise, three dates are there: invoice date, amount recorded in your book date, or amount credited in your bank date. Among the three, whichever is the earlier will be taken. Is that okay? But in the text, in Barak, it is appearing like this: invoice date, okay. If the invoice date within that the invoice is not issued as per the invoice date mentioned under section 31, then what could be the invoice date as per section 31? That will be taken. Last date to issue the invoice as per section 31 clause 1. Okay, what's the last date? In case of movement of goods, on or before the movement of goods. In case of delivery of the goods in the hands of the supplier, in that date will be taken. Second one being date of receipt of payment. In date of receipt of payment, whichever is earlier of one, date recorded in books of account or date credited in supplier's bank. Otherwise, all the three can be taken. Among all the three, the earliest date will be the time of supply. If the time of supply is confirmed, and it is automatically taxable in that time. It is taxable in that time. Clear? 3 days. Invoice date, book record date, credit in your bank account date. 3 days. Now, while billing, you bill this way. Okay. See, usually when we have the canteen in Singar Academy, we usually procure the groceries from a shop. Usually the bill comes this way: 62,344 for January month. Now I have to write the check. You understand? 62,344 rupees 75 paise. Writing in check is really complicated. Even small spelling mistake and sign difference will dishonor my check. So what will I do? I'll write this as 63,000 rupees. It's very convenient. So difference between these two will be automatically adjusted as the advance for the next period. May be adjusted. So usually I'll make the payment not exact amount billed. It will be higher number or sometimes some number closer. Usually I'll pay higher number. In case of credit card, okay, whenever the credit card numbers comes, I usually pay the round number. Okay, round number. If it is being the auto pay, no problem. Exact number may be paid. Sometimes it may be paise. Even typing those paise is boring. I'll round off to nearest thousands and pay it off. Now what happens? What is the time of supply? Now we got around 500 and some 600 and something extra, right? 655.25 rupees I get extra. For this supply happens in the next period only. Right? This one is okay. Supply happens on 15th January 26. Payment being 31st January 26. For how much? For 62,344.75. For another 655.25, no, still invoice date has not come. Because I paid in advance. Payment has come under 655.25. Now come on, tell me what is the time of supply. For this amount, time of supply being between these two, whichever is earlier will be taken. For this amount I paid in advance, the time of supply may be 5th of February 26. 5th of February 26. But I paid ahead. So what we can do, sir, for rounding of purpose, if you are making any extra, if you are getting any extra money, if that extra amount up to 1,000, that's your option. You can consider that time of supply for that being the next month. Okay. Any excess amount you are receiving beyond that invoice value up to rupees 1,000, the time of supply is considered to be actual time of supply along with the next billing period. Provided if payment received exceed invoice by up to 1000, supplier may choose invoice date as time of delivery. The actual invoice date for the 1000 may come in the next month only, no? That time is considered as time of supply, only to the extent of 1000. And extent of supply, how much is considered as supply for this month, sir? Limited to the amount covered by the invoice or payment receipt. To the amount covered, how much is covered in the invoice? 62,344. This amount will be considered as your taxable amount this period. So time of supply will be what? Time of supply for goods, what? One is date of invoice, another one is book record, another one is bank credit. Among the three, whichever is earlier. In case invoice amount is more than amount received by 1000, this 1000 will be considered as taxable only in the next period, not this period, along with the real supply you do in the next period. Now, if I get 5,000 rupees or 10,000 rupees in advance, apart from this is what about rounding of invoice. Another one is, sir, provide me goods this next month, I will pay in advance now itself 10,000. If I am receiving this being advance, stated as advance without any real supply, then it will be taxable along with the invoice date. Advance payment for goods will be taxable on invoice date only. Clear? Clear? Now, Spinix Private Limited enters a contract for supply of 100 office chairs, 15,000 with Joy sales on 21st August. 21st August. Okay. Okay, this is what about the invoice date. And chairs are removed from the warehouse on this date, 5th September, on or before the removal date. Okay. This is what about the contract for sale. This is contract. And 21st, 5th September being the removal date. Along with the invoice issued on the same date. Invoice also on the same date. Joy Sales has paid 30% of the total contract value on 1st August. Payment. So, what are the date we have to take? Removal date. That is what about the invoice date also. Payment date. Right. 5th September, the date of removal for 15,000. Along with the invoice, Joy Sales has paid 30% total contract value on 21st August. Payment being 21st August, 30%, 4,500 on this date. Balance 70% paid after delivery of chairs on 10th September. How much? 10,500. 10,500. Clear? Then what date will be considered as time of supply? In case of advance will be skipped. Advance, you don't need to bother about the advance. In this case, we have to compare what? You have to compare invoice date or payment date. Between these two, whichever is earlier will be taken. So, advance date is not required. So, between these two, whichever is earlier is this date. 15,000 on this date will be considered as time of supply. So, time of supply in this case is equal to 5/9. 5th September. Advance, you forget about the advance. So, invoice date 5/9, receipt date being 10/9. Between these two, whichever is earlier, 5/9 will be taken. So, 5/9 will be the taxable supply, time of supply. Now here, a machine has to be supplied a machine has to be supplied at site. It is done by sourcing various components from vendors and assembling the machine at site. Then it is actually delivery, okay, other than removal. 17th September, purchase order with advance 50,000 is received for machine worth rupees 12 lakhs, an entry made in the seller's books of account. Not required. Advance you simply can forget. The machine is assembled. Assembled is the delivery date. Tested at site and accepted by the buyer. So, time of supply being whichever is earlier of invoice date. Invoice date being 20th October. And invoice raised. We never bother about the invoice raised. If the invoice is not raised within the due date, then you have to take the invoice date only. What could be the invoice date as per section 31? In case of removal, on or before removal. In case of delivery, the moment it gets accepted by the buyer, this will be considered as invoice date. So, though invoice is raised after the date, will not be taken. So, only 2010 will be taken. And payment date, payment receipt. Receipt of payment being 4th November. Whichever is earlier will be taken. So, 20th October will be the final date. 20th October will be the final date. Clear? Okay. Now, one more scenario. Gas is supplied by a pipeline to the recipient. So, it is what about continuous supply? It is what about the continuous supply? Electricity also continuous supply. How the billing is there for the electricity? So, all the commodity you purchase and get the bill, pay the money immediately. In case of electricity, you constantly consume. Periodically, it is going to be valued. Okay, what is the electricity consumed? It will be verified by the electricity department and asking you to pay by giving around a grace period of 20 or 25 days, right? Meanwhile, though you don't pay, still you will be consuming the electricity. So, bi-monthly once the electricity is now valued in Tamil Nadu. So, for example, in case of Jan and Feb, for Jan and Feb, the valuation done on 5th of March 2025. Though the valuation done on 5th of March, you are supposed to pay only on 25th of March 2025. For which period? Jan and Feb. For the 2 months of payment, you will be releasing only on which date? 25/3/2025. By the time you got still consumed electricity from February to 25th March, another 25 days electricity is consumed. Now the question is, what is the time of supply for the 25 days, sir? Never bother about, still billing pending. You never bother about this. As per the billing norms for January and February, the billing is done on 5th, means only you can take the date being 5th only, 5th March. Gas is supplied by a pipeline to the recipient, just similar to the electricity here. So okay, especially in Mumbai, gas is also supplied in pipelines. Like you will be getting the water in pipeline, So rather than you get your gas cylinder delivered, it may be supplied through pipeline. So very convenient, right? So just to use a pipeline to use your cooking and all, there is a meter. Based on the meter, you have to pay. So automatically there is no booking, there is no carrying that huge, heavy gas cylinder now and then. So that's whatever convenience available. Not here, almost in Mumbai it is available. Gas is supplied by pipeline to the recipient. The supply is to be made for a period of 1 year. It's a continuous. Monthly payments are made by the recipient as per the contract. The details of the payments are made this way. July 5, August 5, September 5, and payments of 2 lakhs made in each month. Determine the time of supply. Okay, here the supply is not measurable, only the payment is measurable. The payment date will be considered as time of supply. So then July 5, August 5, September 5 will be the time of supply for 2 lakhs, 2 lakhs and 2 lakhs respectively. Okay, though the time of supply for the September month being 2 lakhs, still you will be getting lots of supply thereafter also. It's continuous supply. It is continuous supply. Clear? Now what happens in case of reverse charge? In case of reverse charge, okay, X gets supply from third party, from A, supply of service, supply of goods. Then what is the time of supply? Whenever you supply, no problem. But when you are getting the supply from others, where you supposed to pay the GST under RCM basis. Under RCM basis. In this case, whichever is the earliest will be taken. Number 1, date of receipt of goods. Date of receipt of goods. When you receive the goods will be the one date. Another one is the payment date. In case of payment, as per the books, payment or debit in your bank account, between these two, whichever is earlier will be taken, or what? A may give something, write something in evidence to supply. A cannot issue the tax invoice. Who can issue the tax invoice? The registered person only can issue the tax invoice. A is not a registered taxpayer. As he is not being the taxable person, he is not eligible for tax invoice, but he can give the bill of supply. Or any document, Okay. So if any document, if you are getting from him, okay, supplier's document, the date when you receive the supplier's document, with that add another 31 days. Among the 4, whichever is the earlier will be taken. Actually, it is not 4, 3 only. The 2 and 3 are interlinked. Amount recorded in your books as payment or amount debited in your bank account as payment. Between these two, whichever is earlier, or take all the 4 and whichever is earlier also be acceptable. Clear? When? If you get the bill of supply details. See, most of the cases what happens, it's only cheating. The cheating may happen. Black money happens here only. Okay. See, you have to pay. Whatever the consumption you do, where RCM is applicable, you have to pay the tax to the government. What will you do? Sir, I purchased 10 lakhs rupees worth of goods, sir. For that GST 1.8 lakhs, I have to pay, sir. Take it. So what do you do? Try to hide that. Okay. Because you are purchasing the 10 lakhs worth of supply from various unregistered person. They will not record any details to the government. They will not show any filing other things to the government. So it is naturally hidden. The payment also may be routed through in a different way. You may cheat. Okay. There may be chances of black money. So in genuine case, I have received this supply of services, goods. So this date, from this date, I consider this being my time of supply. Or I paid this money, so this will be considered as my time of supply. Or this fellow has given me some document, no, from the document date to another 31 days is added, that will be considered as time of supply. You have to pay the GST under RCM basis. But if you are cheating all, then automatically what happens, okay. Anyhow, sometimes you will record, okay, the date of entry in recipient books of account. Okay. In case of advance payment, taxable on the date of receipt of advance. In case of advance, especially for RCM basis, date of receipt of advance will be considered. These are the special cases. None of the above apply. Time of supply is the date of entry in recipient books of account. Okay, sometimes later on investigation, you find that A has received 1 lakh rupees from me for any supply of services. Immediately on inquiry, the department comes to know that X has received this supply, but he has hidden completely. Then the moment it is recorded in the books of A also be considered as your time of supply. Very important. In case of RCM basis, goods received date, second being amount received date, paid date, as per your books of account, or debit in your bank account for the payment, or bill of supply, otherwise document issued by the supplier. From the date, another 31 days would be addable. Among the 3, whichever is the earliest date will be considered as your time of supply. Instead of 31, this will be 61 in case of time of supply of services. That's all. These two are same. Now, come on, tell me. Reverse charge. Determine the time of supply from the given information. May 4th. May 4th. Supplier invoices goods taxable on reverse charge basis to bridge company. Okay. Now, this is what about the supplier's invoice. When it is being the supplier's invoice, from that date you have to add another 31 days. You have to add another 31 days. May 4th. May has 31 days, right? May has 31 days. Leave the 4 days. How many days are there still? Or leave the 3 days. If you leave the 27 days already over. 27 days already over. Another 4 days, maybe 4th June will be the date. So this is nothing but bill of supply plus 31 date. 30 days from the date of issuance of the invoice lapses on June 3rd, June 3. June 3 will be 30 days from the date of bill. You have to add one more extra day. So 3rd June becomes 4th June. And receives the goods, date of receipt of goods 12th May. And makes the payment date being 35. Among the three, whichever is the earlier will be considered as time of supply. What is the time of supply here? 12th May will be the time of supply. Clear? Now, no. Determine the time of supply from the given information. May 4th. Supplier invoice goods taxable on reverse charge basis to Pillar and Co. 30 days lapses on June 3, but we need 31 days, so 1 day extra means 4th June will be taken. And receives the goods which were held up in transit. We received the goods on 12th June. We got it delayed due to some issue on receipt. Okay. Transit held up. Okay, some delay. Okay, no problem. Payment made being 13th July. Whatever it may be, as per the rules here, whichever is the earlier will be taken. So 4th June will be the final day. This will be the time of supply. This will be the time of supply. In case of reverse charge. Hope you will be now able to understand. So under the first scenario, forward charge, invoice date or receipt date, between these two, whichever is earlier will be taken. Very simple. In case of reverse charge, bill of supply plus 31 days or receipt of goods date or payment date. Among the three, whichever is earlier will be taken. Okay. That's all. Clear? Very simple. In the third scenario, voucher case. It's very simple. Voucher. Gift voucher. Okay. You may get the gift voucher, right? So, sometimes you may get the gift voucher for any food. Okay, in a restaurant. If you are getting a gift voucher rupees 1000, for that you can go for a family get together spending 1000 rupees. Okay. You got the gift voucher on 1/1/2026, can be enjoyable in 7 days. Now, what is the time of supply? The date of gift voucher will be time of supply. When you, in almost 45 days you can enjoy. In 45 days you can enjoy. So, when will be time of supply? 1/1/2026 will be the time of supply. The date of issue of gift voucher will be the time of supply. Suppose you received around 1000 rupees worth of gift voucher to be encashable or to not encashable, to be used for purchasing any commodity in supermarket. In supermarket. Issue date being 1/1/2026. You can purchase any commodity within 45 days. Within 45 days. Is that okay? Now, you just see in case of restaurant, all the restaurant food items are billed at the rate of 5%. It's pretty confirm what could be the GST rate for this 1000. So as we are aware about what is the rate applicable at the time of issue of the invoice itself, the voucher itself, then the time of supply is the date of issue of the voucher itself. But in case of supermarket, we are not sure whether you will be purchasing any stationery item or you will be purchasing any eatable items or sweets or what you purchase, we are not sure. Each and every item will have totally different tax rates, right? Probably in case of sweet items, it is 18% tax rate. Sometimes it's 12%. Stationery maybe 5%. We are not sure at what rate of tax is eligible or applicable for the voucher we have issued here. Then we have been given 45 days. On 5th February 2026, you used it for sweet purchase, and eligible GST rate being 18%. In this case, time of supply being execution or usage of encashing or utilizing the voucher date will be considered as time of supply. Whatever the voucher issued, using the voucher, what you can purchase is predetermined, no problem, then issue date will be confirmed. But if you are not aware about what you will be purchasing using the voucher, and the rates may be also be totally different, then encashing or utilization date will be taken here. Supply is identifiable at the time of issue, then date of issue of voucher will be final. If supply is not identifiable at the time of issue, then the date of redemption of voucher will be final. Time of supply in case of voucher exchangeable for goods. This voucher exchangeable for food items. This voucher is exchangeable for any commodity in the supermarket. Acme Sales Limited sells food coupons to a company which gives these to its employees as part of the agreed perquisites. The coupons can be redeemed for purchase of any item for food and provisions in the outlets. So you can use it for purchasing the food or provisions. So we are not sure whether the tax rate will be same for food and provision. Whether he redeems this for the food purchase or provision purchase, we are not sure. Okay, that are part of the program. What is the time of supply? Redemption date will be the time of supply. Because we are not sure whether he is going to redeem for the food or redeem for the any groceries he purchase. Provisions means groceries. A company has tied up with a restaurant for having food for its employee. The company purchases the voucher from the restaurant and gives it to the employee. The voucher can be encashed at this restaurant for food only. We are now pretty sure that this voucher is for food only. So we are now aware about the rate for the food. So definitely the voucher date will be final. Voucher date will be final. Is that clear? So fourth item is also over. Now, in case I am not able to find out the time of supply under any of the methods mentioned earlier, forward or reverse or voucher, no problem. I am not able to find out the time of supply under any other mode, the above stated mode. What we can do? If you are supposed to file the return periodically, then at least before the due date of filing of the return, you have to consider this being your time of supply. You have to voluntarily state, sir, I procured or I supplied this much, so this is what about the time of supply, I want to pay the tax along with this return. So if you are filing any return periodically, time of supply will be the due date of return filing. Okay. In any other cases, no other way. So you don't have any regular time slot for filing the return, then whatever the tax you pay will be considered as time of supply. You voluntarily pay the tax, that's all. Clear? So the last case, interest, late fee and penalty. So we have seen what are the scenario? Forward charge means invoice date and receipt date. Between these two, whichever is earlier. In this case, bill of supply plus 31 date and goods received date and payment date. Among the three, whichever is the earliest date will be taken. In case of time, in case of voucher, identifiable or unidentifiable. In case of identifiable, voucher date will be taken. In case of unidentifiable, redemption date will be final. Okay. we are not able to find out the time of supply under any of the three methods we mentioned earlier, then here, do you file the return? Yes, then return date will be the time of supply. No, then payment date will be the time of supply. Okay. So the last one being time of supply for interest, late fee, penalty for delayed payment. So in case of interest, late fee, penalty, whatever it may be, so this will be the payment date, actual collection, actual receipt of payment will be the time of supply. Payment date will be the time of supply. For example, 1 lakh is the bill, 3 months time is given, and you took 4 months, so I collected 1 lakh 5,000 from you. This 1 lakh time of supply is separately calculated, that is final. For this additional 5,000, you know, the time of supply being the actual receipt of the this amount. The actual receipt being the fourth month. Okay. We are not sure whether he is going to delay it or not. How can you know that he is going to delay and he will pay 5,000 rupees? So because of that reason, any interest, penalty or late fee, whatever money we collect because of the delay, on confirmation delayed happened and we collected additional money, on the basis of collection we pay the tax. At the time of collection, that time that will be considered as time of supply. Okay. C. In case of this one, date of receipt of additional amount will be considered as time of supply. Radha traders sold goods to Shyam sales on 6th June. Okay. Invoice date. What is the invoice date? 6th June. With a condition that interest 2% per month will be charged if Shyam's sales fail to make payment within 15 days of the delivery of the goods. Goods were delivered, as also invoice was also issued on the 6th June. So delivery, invoice both are same. Shyam sales paid the consideration for the goods on 6th July. The actual payment being 6th July. 6th July. Okay. For the original value, for the delayed reason interest payment. For the original value, between these two, whichever is earlier will be taken. 6th July or 6th June, between these two, whichever is earlier will be taken. In case of the interest amount, okay, only on the payment date will be taken. For example, the original value being 1 lakh, okay, but delay means 2% per month for half a month, 1% will be leviable, 1 lakh 1,000. For this 1 lakh, time of supply being 6 and for the another 1,000, the time of supply being 6/7. Is that okay? Time of supply for goods being 6th June and for the additional value, the time of supply being 6th July. Clear? With that, we have completed the time of supply of goods. Time of supply of goods. Only 6 points are there. We have covered all the 6 points. Now, in case of time of supply of services, reverse charge, everything is similar to that one, except this one will be different. Okay, I will mark there itself. In case of time of supply for the services, all are same. First one is not the same. Second one, bill of supply plus 31 is replaced with bill of supply plus that 61 days. Others are same. Only this point is different. Okay. Only first one is also same. Third one, only one difference. Fourth also same. Fifth same. Sixth same. Only this one will not be same. This one you have to understand in detail. Okay. So instead of RCM, instead of 31 days, you have to add 61 days. Okay. Let's see here. Now, what is the time of invoice date? What is the invoice date for the time of supply of services under section 31? Okay, before the supply of services or 30 days after the supply of service, after the supply of service. So what is the deadline? Complete the supply of service from the date 30 days list is given, 30 days extension is given. Now, this is what about as per section 31. Now, question is, yes sir, he has done as per the request of section 31 sir. Then whichever is earlier of invoice date, and second being the payment receipt date, book entry and bank credit. Okay, book entry and bank credit for collection. Clear? Whichever is earlier. Now, no sir, what happens? So this fellow has not given the or issued the invoice as per the deadline fixed under section 31, which is finish of the provision of supply of services from the date 30 days time is given. If you have not issued that invoice, I never bother about the invoice date. Automatically, provision of service, no, that date will be final. So, whichever is earlier of supply of service completion date. Supply of service completion date. Second one is book entry for receipt of money or bank credit. Okay, bank credit for the receipt. Okay, bank credit. So you have to verify whether the invoice is within the stipulated date mentioned under section 31 or not. Yes sir, no problem, then invoice date and rest will be the same. No sir, then invoice date will not be taken. I will take only the date of completion of the supply of service. When you complete the supply of service, that date is final. Right. What happens in case of additional 1000 rupees? Similar to the logic we have studied in goods, the same happens. If the payment received exceeds invoice up to 1000, supplier may choose the invoice date as taxable supply, not the receipt dates. Advance payment for services usually taxable on invoice date, not taxable on the receipt date. Okay, and supply is limited to the invoice date only or the payment receipt, only to the amount mentioned in the invoice. Okay. Now, these two conditions not satisfied sir, not fulfilled in other cases, then on which the recipient records the receipt of services in book of account. So whatever it may be, one day he will record that we have received this service so much by spending so much money. No, once he record, that date will be final. The service date. Predominantly these two is okay. This will be the other cases. Date on which the recipient records the receipt of services in books of account. Okay, means you may supply but you cheat the government without raising any invoice, without showing the money. It's not about cheating. In that case, recipient records as this being the service received as an expense in his book. No. On the cross verification, department will raise the question. What happens? This fellow says that service is received from you. You are not shown anything. Sorry sir, I manipulated. Oh, okay, then that will be the time of supply. This is not my date. Receipt of services in the books of the recipient. That's the case. Hope you will be now able to understand the three scenario. Now, come on. We'll try to solve this illustration. So, we'll see this later on. Okay. HAM model. NHAI projects. Okay. We'll finish up that later on. We'll finish up the rest first of all. Mohit Khanna and Sons is a firm of management consultants. The firm enters a contract with Spark Private Limited on 1st September. Contract date is not a matter for me. Provision of service gets completed on 15th September. Provision. Service, supply of service completed on 15th September. Come on. Add 30 days with this. If I add 30 days, 15th October will be the deadline. Okay. Now the question is, is the tax invoice is on or before 15th 10 or not? Yes or no? Yes or no? That's a question. Huh? Now, the invoice for the service is issued on 20th September. 20th September. Yes, sir. 20th September means yes, sir. This one, this scenario. Then, whichever is earlier of invoice date and book entry for receipt of money or bank credit for receipt of money. Okay, book entry being 20th September, payment received on 10th October. What is the time of supply? Between these two, whichever is earlier being 29. If the invoice is issued on 25th October, then no is a scenario. So then whichever is earlier of what? Number one, supply of service date. Second one is receipt date. Receipt of payment date. Receipt of payment date, further you can classify that as book entry as well as bank credit entry. Okay. Here we have been given only one receipt date, so you no need to bother about subsequent learning. And receipt date being 10/10. Supply of service being 15th September. Between these two, whichever is earlier, 15th September will be the earliest date. So, in case of supply of services, two items are there. One is whether he issues the bill of invoice within the stipulated date under section 31 or not. The 31 says, section 31 says, from the completion of the supply of services, 30 days limit is given. Within the 30 days you have issued means no problem. If it is not so, supply of service will be taken rather than invoice date. So, the only difference is whether you are going to take the invoice date or supply of service date. So, if you are not followed as per this section 31, invoice date is not taken. That's all. Now, determine the time of supply from the following particulars. Booking of conventional hall, sum agreed 15, advance received 3000. Advance you forget about it. On 15th September, function held in convention hall. So, this is what about the time of supply. Supply of service being 15th September. Then what about the invoice date? Invoice date as per section 31. As per section 31 being 15/9, add another 30. So, 15/10 will be the invoice date. Now, invoice issued for 15,000 on which date? 27th October. So, now question is it the invoice date is earlier than 15/10? No, isn't it? As it is not within the 30 days from the date of completion of service, then you have to take supply of service date and amount credited date. Okay, amount received, receipt of the amount. Is that okay? So, overall value being 15,000, 3,000 received separately. Okay. On which date we have received? 6th May, 3,000 rupees. Another 12,000 we received on which date? 3rd November. What about the supply of service? Supply of service being 15th September. As invoice date is missed out, the date mentioned under section 31, I will not take this date. So, only 15th September will be final. For this, between these two, whichever is earlier will be taken. Between these two, whichever is earlier will be taken. Here it seems to be a penalty like. Usually advance is not going to be taxable. But provided in this case, as per this provision, supply of service or receipt within these two, whichever is earlier will be taken. So, for the 3,000 rupees, the taxable date being, time of supply being 6th May, For the another 12,000, the date being 15/9 will be taken. 15/9 will be taken. Clear? Now, one more illustration. Investigation shows that ABC and Co. carried out service of cleaning and repairs of tanks in the apartment complex. One of the interesting illustrations. Okay. ABC and Co. who has done some cleaning work for some apartment supply of service. Okay. For which the apartment owners association showed a payment in cash on 4th April. This apartments association, no, apartments owners association, in their cash book, okay, there's a payment. Payment for what? Payment for cleaning and repair service to ABC. This fellow ABC totally omitted this to be shown. If he shows, then he has to pay the GST. No, this fellow did the service and takes the money and keeps in his pocket and upscan. Nothing is paid to the government. 3 scenarios. Scenario 1, the bill date should be as per section 31, no problem. If the bill date is not as per section 31, then also no problem. We will consider the actual time of supply of services with the receipt date with the whichever is earlier will be taken. But if you are totally hiding, okay, then somebody may pay you and it may be shown in their books of account. No, on verification, if it is found, automatically this date will be final as your time of supply. From the date onwards, you will be penalized completely. You have to pay penalty and all. Okay, this is shown on which date? 4th April. 4th April. Okay, to them against work of this description, the dates of work are not clear from the records of ABC. ABC has no record. ABC company have not issued invoice, entered the payment in their books of accounts. They have totally omitted, means cheating. Then immediately department found that you have spent the, means you have rented this service. This will be your income. You have to pay the tax as on which date? 4/4. 4th April with the time of supply. So 3 scenarios. The third scenario, date on which the recipient records, not the supplier. You totally hide this information, but your recipient somehow showed in his book that the service is received from you. Okay, automatically what happens? It is tracked and it is going to be considered as your supply, and the time of supply being the time at which it is recorded in his book, recipient's book. One of the interesting cases, right? You cannot escape at all. Now, what happens, sir, if he doesn't maintain any books of accounts? No problem. You can escape. Very rare scenario. Okay. Now, let's move on to the next one. Telephone company receives 5,000 against an invoice 4,800. The excess amount 200 can be adjusted again next invoice or not? Yes. Okay, whatever the bill may be, if you are getting the receipt in excess of that bill amount by 1,000, that will be taxable only along with the next invoice date, not now. At the company's option. This is only option. And reverse charge. Already we completed the reverse charge also. What's that? A reverse charge. 60 days. Come on. Determine the time of supply from given information. Assuming that the service being supplied is taxable under reverse charge. May 4th, the supplier of services issues invoice for the service provider. There is a dispute about amount payable and the payment is delayed. Okay, anyhow. Bill of supply date plus 61 days will be taken, whichever is earlier of, in case of reverse charge. Second one being the payment date. The payment date in this case being 21st August. Bill of supply being 4th May. You have to add 61 days. in May, you have 27 days. 31 from that 4 days is subtracted, so 7 days we have, right? 27 days. 20 31 minus 4. Okay, 27 days we have in May. In June, 30 days. Then 4 days till you have maybe July. So 4th July will be taken. Between these two, whichever is earlier being, 4th July is final. The small difference between goods and services related to the reward charge being, there it is 31 days, it is here 61 days. Now, reward charge. A German company issues email informing it is to its associated company ABC Limited of the cost of technical services provided to it. So it is all about associated company. Associated company means there will not be any bill to be issued between these two companies. These two are friendly companies, right? Associated company. Where this company holds more than 20% shares in that company, becomes a partner like. In that case, you don't get any bill of supply from them. In that case, whatever the actual payment you do know, that date is final, July 2. Yeah. Time of supply in case of associated enterprises. This is the one extra item applicable for the time of supply. Okay, supplier is located outside India, then time of supply is whichever is earlier of the date of entry in the books of account of the recipient or the date of payment. Between these two, whichever is earlier will be taken. The actual payment date or the date recorded in the recipient's book, not actual supply of service. Actual supply of service we cannot track, as it is being intangible form. In case of goods, okay, we can track. It is intangible form. Service only, no, we cannot track. In case of associated enterprises. Okay. Now, voucher. Voucher is similar. Identifiable otherwise. Identifiable means voucher date. Unidentifiable means redemption date. Best Hospitality Service enters into an agreement with Drive Marketing Limited, by which Drive Marketing Limited markets Best Hospitality Services hotel rooms and sells coupons, vouchers redeemable for discount against stay in the hotel. So it is only for what? Stay in the hotel. Stay in the hotel means definitely identifiable, then voucher date will be final. Other cases also we have already studied. Okay, the same. Late fee, interest, payment basis. So as I already told you, only these two you have to be careful. Okay, this one will be totally different. Here we have been seen 3 scenarios. Section 31 date invoice or section 31 date, the date mentioned under section 31 is not followed. Another one is associate, means not under this case, means based on recipient, you hide completely in your books. These are the three scenarios we have studied. Here invoice date or receipt date. In this case, supply of service date or receipt date. In this case, the value recorded in the books of the recipient date. That's how you can keep in your mind. Here the date being rather than 31, it is 61. Apart from that, associated enterprises, that will also be includable. Rest of the things are same. This will fall under section 32, supply of service. In case of supply of service, time of supply being section 30. Section 13 is dealing for that. Okay. So that's all. This chapter is over. Before we wind up, we'll try to finish up some comprehensive illustrations from this chapter. Yes. Now, Determine the time of supply in the following cases assuming GST payable under reverse charge. This is RCM basis. And it's all about goods. In case of RCM basis, any bill of supply by the sent by the supplier, from there you have to add 31 days. So, what are the 3 days? Goods received date, bill date plus 31 days and payment date. Okay. Among the 3, whichever is earlier will be taken. This is payment date, date of issue of invoice of the supplier. So, with this you have to add 31 days. June 29. June 29. If you add 30 days, what happens? June 30 days, no, 1 day, and July 30. So, 30th July will be the date. 30th July. Am I right? So, goods date, payment date, 31 days from the date of receipt of any bill of supply. You add up, you compare the 3, among the 3, the least will be, earliest date will be taken. 1st July will be the date. 1st July. Next, June 29 means it is also 30th July. So, among the 3, 25th June will be the date. June 29th means it is 30th July. Here, part payment made in June 30, another balance being in July 20. For the first part, July 1, June and July 30. Then what will be taken here? 30th June for first part. Next part, 1st July will be taken. Okay. 30th and 1st July. Here payment is entered in the books of account on June 28 and debited in the recipient bank account on 30th June. Between these two, whichever is earlier will be taken. And June 1 means you have to add 31 days. In June 30 days, 29, another 2 days, 2nd July. 2nd July. Among the 3, you have to take June 28th. June 28. And here June 29th means it is 30th July only, no problem. Payment entered in the books of account being June 30 and debited being June 26th. So we have to take between these two whichever is earlier. June 26th. July, June 26th and 30th July. Then June 26th will be final. And June 29th means it is 30th July only. And among the 3, August 1 is final. Okay, 30th July will be final. 30th July will be final. Very simple, right? So we have completed the reverse charge of supply of goods here. We'll move on to the next one. Is it clear? So next one is all about supply of services, and we have to use the reverse charge. In case of supply of services, any date of issue of invoice, with that you have to add 61 days and then the payment date. Actually there is no delivery, so receipt concept will not be applicable here. Now you have to add 61 days with June 29. In June you have 1 day and July you have 31 days. Again August 29. August 29. So August 29. Here August 29. Here August 29. Here August 29. In case of June, June 29 days. July 31 days, so 31 plus 29, 60, another 1 day. 1st August, August 1, August 1. Yeah, first case between these two, whichever is earlier, August 10. Next one between these two, whichever is earlier, August 1, Here first part and second part. For first part June 30, for second part August 29, and here first part the book payment entered in the books of account June 29 and debited. So between these two, whichever is earlier. So June 28. Okay, June 28. Then here June 26 will be taken. So between these two, June 26 will be the final date. Clear? Yeah. Now, Kabira Industries Limited in case the service of transporter for good road transport of consignment on 17th June. 17th June being the provision of supply of services. Made advance payment for the transport on the same date, that is 17th June. Okay. Payment date. Okay. However, the consignment could not be sent immediately on account of strike in the factory. Instead of was sent on 20th July. Okay. But any of the consignment was sent on 20th July. Invoice was received from the transporter on 22nd July. Okay. What is the time of supply of the transporter service? And we have to follow reverse charge basis. Okay. So this is what about the supply of service. An advance also received on the same date. Then receipt date being 17/6. Another being completion of bill of supply date plus 61 days will be addable. Invoice date being 22nd July. With that 61 days should be addable. In July 31, no, 22, 9 days are there. July 9 days. Balance being August 31 days. Then September remaining days 21 days. So 21st September. So between these two, whichever is earlier being 17/6 is final. 17/6 is final. Here the actual provision of supply of service will not be considered in case of RCM basis. Okay, we are not sure whether he is supplied or not. Now, Raju Private Limited receives the order and advance payment on 5th January for carrying out an architectural design job. It delivers the designs on 23rd April. By oversight, no invoice is issued at the time, and it is issued much later after the expiry of prescribed period for the issue of invoice. Then automatically what happens? No invoice. Then whichever is earlier of what? Completion of supply of service date. Okay. 23rd April and date of receipts of payment. Between these two, whichever is earlier date will be taken. Investigation shows that 150 cartons of ceramic capacitors was dispatched on 2nd August, but no invoice was made. In case of goods, whichever is earlier of invoice date, if invoice is missed to be issued, no problem. The due date for issue of invoice date will be final. The due date for issue of the invoice being 2nd August. And the cartons were not entered in the accounts. Okay, but no invoice was made and the cartons were not entered in the accounts. There was no evidence of the receipt of payment. What is the time of supply of 150 cartons for the purpose of payment of tax? Now here what happens, you don't have any information. Then you can consider only based on the dispatched date. Okay, the payment date is missing. Dispatch date is final. An order is placed on Ram & Co's on 18th August for supply of consignment of customized shoes. This is only order, never bother about the order date. ROM company gets the consignment ready and informs the customer and issues the invoice on 2nd December. So 2nd December is the date all the order is ready and invoice is also ready. The customer collects the consignments from the premises of ROM and Co. on 7th December. The date he takes will not be a matter for me. So it is confirmed. I confirm that your material is ready, come and collect. That's all. That date is final for me. And electronically transfers the payment on the same date. So the payment date being 7th December, which is entered in the accounts on the next date. Though it is recorded in the next date in our account, it may be considered as 8th date also, no problem. Okay, he transfers, but we have not recorded. Otherwise, we could have recorded means 7th date will be final. So between these two, whichever is earlier will be taken. So 2nd December is final. 2nd December is final. And meal coupon, now voucher related illustration. Voucher related illustrations. Meal coupon are sold to company on 9th August for being distributed to the employees for the said company. The coupons are valid for 6 months and can be used against purchase of food items only. If it is being the food items, then what is the time of supply? The date of issue. The employee used them in various stores for purchase of various edible items, different dates throughout the 6 months. Now the problem arises. Unidentifiable. Then what is the date will be taken? A redemption date will be final. And next one being, a firm of advocates issues invoice for services to ABC Limited on 17th February. So advocates are automatically it falls under RCM basis. Already we have studied. Okay. So whatever the invoice date issued by them, you have to add how many days? 61 days should be addable. So in February 28 days, already 17 days over. Balance on the 11 days you have. So out of 61, 11 days is there and 50 days. And for March, 31 days. Then remaining 19 days may be April. So April 19. 19th April will be the date here first. The payment is contested by ABC Limited on the ground that the account of negligence of the firm, the company's case was dismissed by the court for non-appearances, which necessitated further appearance for which the firm is billing the company. The dispute drags and final payment is made on 3rd November. Whatever it may be, the payment being 3rd November. We never bother about any dispute or whatever it may be between these two, whichever is earlier will be final, the earlier date being 19th April. Identify the time of supply for the legal services, 19th April will be the final date. Okay. And Modern Security Company provides services of testing of electronics devices. In one case, it tested a batch of devices on 4th and 5th September, but could not raise invoice till 19th November. How many dates are allowed? Okay, invoice, the completion of supply of service plus 30 days will be available, but he has not completed within that 30 days. Because of some dispute and about the condition of the devices unwritten. The payment was made in December. Anyhow, which is the date final? Supply of service will be the final date. So 4th or 5th September. Okay, 5th September. That's the final one. Okay. What is the method to fix the time of supply in this service? So 5th September is final. Okay, later date. So the process continues on 4th and 5th. We assume that complete one is over by 5th September. As invoice is not raised on the date or within 30 days from the date of completion of supply of service, then completion of supply of service will be the date along with the payment date compared, whichever is earlier will be taken. Now here. Mrs. XYZ and Co., a firm of chartered accountants, issued invoice for services rendered to Mr. A on 7th September. Issued invoice for services rendered to Mr. A. Okay. So, invoice date being 7th September. Determine the time of supply in the following independent cases. Provision for of services was completed on 1st August. 1st August means 30 days. Now the question is that section 31 fulfilled or not? First case, as the completion, the service completed on 1st August, from there 30 days means it is anywhere between 1st September only, but invoice date is 7th September. No. As it is not so, automatically we will consider only 1st August or 28th September, whichever is earlier will be taken. What's the date here? 1st August will be final. In this case, provision of service was completed on 14th August. 14th August means definitely within 30 days he has issued. So yes. In this case, I never bother about that. So I will compare 7th September and 28th September, whichever is earlier will be taken. 7th September. A made payment on 3rd August. However, the provision of service was remaining to be completed at that time. So provision is not yet completed. So we can assume as provision of supply of this is what? Invoice is raised 7th September. Invoice is raised and the payment date between these two, whichever is earlier, will be taken. Okay. 3rd August. Provision of service was remaining to be completed. You can issue the invoice before the completion of services, or after that also you can take 30 days. Before means the date of invoice will be taken. This is as per section 31 only. So as per section 31 means invoice date or payment date between these two, whichever is earlier, will be taken. Mr. A made the payment on 15th September. However, the provision of service was remaining to be completed at that time. So service is not completed, but invoice is there now between these two, whichever is earlier, will be taken. 7th September. 7th September. So invoice could be issued before or after the completion also, but within 30 days. Clear? Then now Mrs. Pranav Associates, a partnership firm, provided recovery agent services, then RCM basis. Recovery agency will come under RCM basis to Newton Credits Limited, a non-banking financial company and a registered supplier on 15th January. Okay. And invoice for the same was issued on 7th February and the payment was made on 18th April by Newton Credits Limited Bank. Credits Limited bank account of the company was debited on 20th April. So you never bother about this one. So this one. And 7th February means you have to add 61 days. Yeah, February 28 days. No, already 7 days completed. Balance, we have 21 days. Out of 61, 21 is going for February, 31 for March. Huh? 19 tables. 9th or 10th? 9th. Okay, 9th April. Okay. So 9th April. This one is 9th April and the payment date being 18th April. Between these two, whichever is earlier. 18th April and 9th April, between these two, whichever is earlier, being 9th April. Okay. Then the last one. Mr. X supplied goods for rupees 50,000 to its customer, Miss Diana, on 1st January, on the condition that the payment for the same will be made within a week. However, Miss Diana made payment for the said goods on 2nd February, thus paid interest amounting to rupees 2,000. What is the time of supply with regard to the addition? This will be additional payment. Additional payment will be considered as a payment date for the time of supply. Okay. Time of supply for the additional payment being only the payment date. So 2nd February will be the final. Clear?